Hello, my dear friends, and welcome back to another effective and amazing episode here at Code Your English, the channel where we learn English together, step by step, in a simple and fun way. Thank you so much for joining me today, and thank you for your love and amazing support. Every message, every listen, every share, it truly means a lot to me. I feel very happy knowing that so many of you are using this podcast to learn, grow, and improve your English skills. So, from my heart, thank you. My name is Jason, and I'm here with you today to help you practice listening and speaking English while learning something useful for your life. In this podcast, I always try to share ideas that help you become better in English, and also better in life. Because when we grow in both language and mindset, we move closer to our goals and dreams. Now, in today's episode, we are going to talk about something very special. It's called the 80-20 rule. Have you ever heard of it? Don't worry if you haven't. In this episode, I will explain it slowly, clearly, and with simple examples so that you understand it well and can also use it in your daily life. You don't need to be a business expert or a scientist to use this rule. This is a rule that can help everyone: students, workers, parents, English learners, anyone who wants to live a smarter, better life. So, what is the 80-20 rule? In simple words, this rule says that 80% of results come from 20% of actions. That means only a few things we do give us most of the results. For example, maybe you study 10 different topics, but only 2 of them help you get better grades. Or maybe you have 10 people in your life, but 2 of them give you the most love and support. This idea comes from a smart man named Vilfredo Pareto, who found that a small number of things often make a big difference. That's why this rule is also called the Pareto principle. Why is this rule important? Because it helps us focus. We all have so many things to do every day, and sometimes we feel tired or busy all the time. But with this rule, we can learn to focus only on the things that really matter. The 20% that gives us 80% of the results. This helps us save time, save energy, and get better results in school, in work, and even in learning English. So in this episode, I will help you understand what the 80-20 rule really means, why it is so powerful, and how you can start using it in your own life, especially if you are learning English. I'll give you simple examples, step-by-step ideas, and small actions you can take today. And remember, while you listen, feel free to speak with me, repeat words, copy the sentences, and use this time to practice your English out loud. Now, let's begin our journey into the 80-20 rule and learn how a small, smart change can create big results in our lives. What is the 80-20 rule? So, what exactly is the 80-20 rule? Let's take some time to understand this step by step. The 80-20 rule is a very simple but powerful idea. It means that 80% of results come from just 20% of the effort or actions. In other words, not everything we do gives the same results. Some things we do are more important than others. A small number of things often bring us the biggest success, the most progress, or the biggest change in our lives. Let's take an easy example. Imagine you are studying English for 10 hours every week. You do many things during that time: reading, writing, watching videos, listening to podcasts, learning grammar rules, and practicing speaking. But here's the surprise. Maybe only 2 of those hours, just 20%, give you most of your real progress. Maybe listening to this podcast and practicing speaking out loud are the 2 most helpful things for you. Those 2 hours help you feel more confident, speak more clearly, and understand more English. The other 8 hours are still useful, but they don't give you as much improvement. This is the 80-20 rule in action. Let me give you another simple example. Think about your closet. You probably have many clothes. But if you think carefully, you might wear the same 5 or 6 shirts again and again. Maybe out of 20 shirts, you wear just 4 of them most of the time. That's the 80-20 rule again. Just a small number of items give you most of your use or satisfaction. It's not about the exact numbers being 80 and 20 every time. The point is that a small part gives a large result. It could be 70-30 or 90-10, but the idea stays the same. Not everything is equal. Now let's look at where this idea comes from. The 80-20 rule is also called the Pareto principle, named after an Italian man named Vilfredo Pareto. He was an economist, someone who studies money, resources, and how people use them. Around the year 1896, Pareto made an interesting discovery. He saw that about 80% of the land in Italy was owned by 20% of the people. That was just the beginning. Later, he and others saw that this kind of pattern happens in many places, in business, in time management, in relationships, and even in nature. Over time, other people started to notice the same thing. In business, for example, often 80% of a company's sales come from just 20% of their customers. In technology, sometimes 80% of the problems in a system come from just 20% of the bugs. Even in health and fitness, 20% of your exercises might bring 80% of your results. So this idea is not just about money or land. It's a rule that can help us understand how the world works and how we can work smarter, not harder. Now let's go back to our English learning journey. If we know the 80-20 rule, we can ask ourselves a smart question. What are the few things I do that give me the biggest results in learning English? Maybe it's listening to podcasts like this. Maybe it's having short conversations with friends in English. Maybe it's using new words in real life. Whatever it is, the 80-20 rule helps you find what's working best. And then, do more of that. Let me repeat the key idea again in different words. The 80-20 rule means that a small number of things bring big results. Not everything we do is equal. Some actions are more powerful. Some habits are more useful. Some steps take us forward faster. And when we find those few important things, we should focus on them. This way, we don't waste time or energy on things that don't help us much. We become smarter, more focused, and more successful. Not by doing more, but by doing what matters most. So remember, the 80-20 rule is not about math or being perfect with numbers. It's about thinking carefully. It's about looking at your life and asking, where do I get the biggest results? And once you find those answers, you can change your focus, your energy, and your habits, and start moving forward in a much better way. In the next part of this episode, we're going to talk about why this rule is so useful and how it can make your life easier, better, and more successful. So keep listening, keep speaking along with me, and let's continue learning together. Why is the 80-20 rule useful? Now that we understand what the 80-20 rule means, let's talk about why this rule is so useful and why so many successful people use it in their daily lives. This rule is not just a nice idea. It's a smart way of thinking that can help us save time, do better work, and feel less stress. In simple words, the 80-20 rule helps us to stop wasting time on things that don't matter much and start focusing more on the things that really help us grow. One of the most important things to learn from the 80-20 rule is this: most things in life are not equal. This may sound strange at first, but it's true. We often think that if we work more hours, we will get more results. Or, if we do many things in a day, we will become more successful. But that is not always true. Sometimes, just a few small actions can give us the biggest success. The 80-20 rule helps us find those actions and focus on them. Let's look at some simple real-life examples to help you see how this works. Imagine you have a long to-do list with 10 different tasks. You might think that all tasks are equally important, but if you check carefully, you may find that only 2 of those tasks, just 20%, give you the biggest results. Maybe those 2 tasks help you finish an important project or improve your skills. The other 8 tasks take time, but they don't give you much progress. So instead of trying to do everything, the smart thing to do is focus more time and energy on the tasks that matter most. That's using the 80-20 rule in your work or study life. Now think about your closet again. You may have many shirts, pants, or dresses, but if you look closely, you'll see that you wear the same few clothes again and again. Maybe you wear just 3 or 4 outfits most of the time, even if you have 20 pieces of clothing. That means about 20% of your clothes are used 80% of the time. This tells us that we don't really need so many things. We usually depend on just a few important ones. Let's take a business example now. Imagine a company that has 100 customers. You might think every customer is the same, but the 80-20 rule tells a different story. Maybe only 20 of those customers bring 80% of the company's profit or money. These are the customers who buy often, pay on time, and tell others about the business. The other 80 customers still matter, but they do not bring in much money. So what should the company do? Focus more on the 20%. Give them better service, offer them more value, and keep them happy. This helps the business grow faster and smarter. This rule is useful because it teaches us to think more clearly. It helps us stop wasting time on things that look busy but don't help much. Instead of trying to do everything, we can focus on the few things that really make a difference. This saves our time, gives us more energy, and makes us feel more in control of our lives. Think about your own life for a moment. Are there some people who always make you feel happy, loved, or supported? And are there some people who take your time but give you nothing good in return? The 80-20 rule can help you spend more time with the people who really matter. The same is true for activities. Maybe you enjoy reading, walking in nature, or talking to someone close. These things may be small, but they give you big peace. That's the 80-20 rule at work again. This rule can also help you reduce stress. When you try to do too many things, your brain gets tired. You feel busy, but not productive. But when you use the 80-20 rule, you only focus on the few things that truly help. That gives you more free time to relax, rest, and enjoy life. You don't need to work 10 hours if just 2 or 3 hours of smart work can give you the same or even better results. So remember, the 80-20 rule is not about doing less, it's about doing what matters most. It helps you choose your best actions, your most important tasks, and your strongest relationships. This is why successful people in business, education, health, and personal life all use this principle. They don't try to do everything. They just focus on the most valuable 20%. Now that we understand why the 80-20 rule is so useful, let's move on to the next part, where we'll learn how to apply this rule in daily life, especially in learning English. So stay with me. And as always, feel free to speak out loud, repeat, and use this time to grow your English skills too. How can we use the 80-20 rule in daily life? So now that we understand what the 80-20 rule is and why it's so useful, let's talk about how we can use it in our daily lives. This is the most exciting part, because now it's not just an idea in your mind. It's something you can really try in your life. You don't need to be a business expert to use this rule. Anyone can use it. Students, workers, parents, and, of course, English learners like you. Let's begin with how to use the 80-20 rule at work or at school. Many people think that being busy means being productive, but that's not always true. You can be busy all day and still not finish the most important things. This is where the 80-20 rule helps. Ask yourself, what are the few tasks that give me the biggest results? Maybe there are just 1 or 2 things at work that really matter, like writing a good report or finishing a key project. Instead of spending all your time answering emails or going to long meetings, you can focus on those important tasks that bring real success. The same is true for students. Some students study for hours and hours but don't get good grades. Why? Because they are working hard, but not smart. The 80-20 rule can help students study smart. Look at your subjects and topics. Which ones are the most important for your exam? Which type of questions come again and again? Which parts are difficult but important to understand? Instead of reading every page of your book, focus more time on the top 20% of topics that can help you get 80% of the marks. This will make studying easier and more effective. Now, let's talk about how to use the 80-20 rule in learning English. This is very important for all of us here, right? Many English learners try to learn too many grammar rules, difficult vocabulary, and long lists of words. But the truth is, most of us only use a small number of words and grammar structures in daily life. Research shows that just 20% of the most common English words are used in 80% of daily conversations. So instead of trying to learn every word in the dictionary, start with the most common and useful words. Words like go, want, need, have, and make appear in almost every conversation. If you learn and use them well, you'll sound more natural and fluent. Also, think about the skills you practice. Some learners only read or study grammar, but they don't speak or listen much. But in real life, speaking and listening are the most used skills. If you focus just 20% of your time on the most useful activities, like listening to English podcasts, speaking with a friend, or watching easy English videos, you will get 80% of the improvement. The 80-20 rule tells us to stop doing everything and start doing what really works. If speaking and listening are what you need most, spend more time on them. Now, let's talk about your personal life. Yes, the 80-20 rule works there too. Think about the people in your life. Who gives you the most love, support, and happiness? You might have 20 friends or more, but maybe just 3 or 4 of them really care for you and make you feel good. The 80-20 rule tells you to spend more time with those people, the ones who give you energy, not the ones who take it away. We often give time to people who don't value us. But if you focus on the few people who truly matter, your life becomes more peaceful and joyful. Now think about the things you do every day. Some activities make you feel tired, bored, or unhappy. Others make you feel happy, peaceful, or excited. Maybe you enjoy going for a walk, reading a good book, listening to music, or spending time with family. These are small things, but they give you big joy. That's the 80-20 rule again. Just a few activities can give you most of your peace and happiness. Try to do more of these things. Make time for them. They help you feel better and live better. So, the key message here is, look at your life. Find the small things that bring big results. Then focus more on them. Whether it's in your work, your studies, your English practice, or your relationships, the 80-20 rule can help you make better choices. It's not about doing more. It's about doing what matters. And when you do that, your life becomes simpler, more productive, and more joyful. In the next part, we'll talk about simple steps you can take to apply the 80-20 rule in your life starting today. So keep listening, keep speaking out loud, and let's move forward together. Simple steps to apply the 80-20 rule. Now that we've learned what the 80-20 rule is, why it's useful, and how it works in different parts of life, let's talk about something very important. How can you actually apply it? How can you use this rule in your own life starting today? Don't worry. It's not difficult. You don't need to make big changes or do anything perfect. Just follow these simple steps, and you'll begin to see results very quickly. The first step is to look at what you do every day. Take a moment to think about your normal day. From morning to night, what are the things you spend time on? Maybe you go to work or school. Maybe you study English. Maybe you use social media, cook, clean, help your family, or spend time with friends. Write these things down if it helps. This step is about becoming more aware of how you spend your time and energy. Many people are busy all day, but they don't really know where their time goes. So, slow down and observe yourself for a day or two. The second step is to find what gives you the biggest results or happiness. This is the heart of the 80-20 rule. Out of all the things you do, which ones give you real value? Which activities help you move forward? Which ones make you feel good or give you peace? For example, maybe reading one book gives you more learning than watching 10 random videos. Maybe a 15-minute English conversation with a friend helps you more than 2 hours of just reading grammar rules. Or maybe one walk in nature helps your mood more than hours on your phone. Ask yourself, what are the few things that really help me? This will help you see your top 20%. The third step is to remove or reduce the things that give small results. Once you know what is helpful and meaningful, you'll also notice what is not. You may see that you spend too much time on things that don't help you grow, improve, or feel better. Maybe you spend hours scrolling on your phone or watching videos that don't teach you anything. Or maybe you try to do too many small tasks just to feel busy. but they don't give you real results. You don't have to stop everything, but try to reduce them. Even saving 30 minutes a day gives you more time to do the things that really matter. The fourth step is to focus more on the 20% that matters most. Now that you know what helps you the most, it's time to give it more time and attention. If speaking English with others helps you improve quickly, do more of it. If exercising in the morning makes your day better, do it often. If spending time with one or two people gives you more joy than going to big parties, focus on those connections. This step is about making better choices every day. Choosing to spend more time on the activities, people, and habits that bring big results and real happiness. The fifth step is to keep checking and adjusting. Life is always changing. What works today may not work tomorrow. That's why it's important to check your actions again from time to time. Maybe once a week or once a month, ask yourself, is this still working for me? Am I focusing on the right 20%? If something is not giving you results anymore, it's okay to change. The 80-20 rule is not a one-time action. It's a way of thinking. It teaches you to look for what really matters and then follow that, even when things change. Let's take a small example to see how all this works together. Imagine you are learning English. You listen to a podcast, read articles, watch YouTube, practice grammar, and speak to a friend once a week. After thinking carefully, you realize that speaking to your friend and listening to this podcast are the two activities that help you the most. They improve your speaking and listening, and you enjoy them. So, what can you do? You can reduce time watching random YouTube videos and use that time to speak more with your friend or listen more to useful podcasts. That's how the 80-20 rule helps you grow. Not by doing more, but by doing what works best. Remember, the goal is not to be perfect. It's to be smart. Start small. Choose one area of your life: work, study, English learning, or relationships. Try to find the 20% that gives you the best results. Focus more on that. Let go of the things that don't help, and keep adjusting as you go. By doing this, you will feel more in control, more peaceful, and more productive. You'll stop wasting time on things that don't matter, and you'll start moving toward your goals faster, with less stress and more joy. In the next part of this episode, we'll talk about common mistakes people make when trying to use the 80-20 rule and how you can avoid them. So keep listening, and don't forget to speak out loud and practice your English with me. Mistakes people make with the 80-20 rule. Now that you've learned how to apply the 80-20 rule in your life, it's also important to understand that many people make mistakes when they first try to use this rule. That's okay. Mistakes are a natural part of learning. But if we talk about these mistakes now, you can avoid them and use the 80-20 rule more wisely and effectively. Let's look at 3 common mistakes that people make when using this rule. The first mistake is thinking that the 80-20 rule means do less and be lazy. This is not true at all. The 80-20 rule is not about avoiding work. It's about doing the right work. Some people hear about this rule and think, oh great, I only need to do 20% of the work, and I'll get 80% of the results. That means I can stop doing most things. But this is not the real message of the rule. The truth is, you still have to put in effort. And sometimes, hard work is necessary. But the smart part is knowing where to put your effort. If you use your time and energy on the most important tasks, you'll get better results than just working long hours without thinking. So the 80-20 rule helps you focus smarter, not work less without reason. The second mistake is trying to be perfect with numbers. Many people think the rule must always be exactly 80% and 20%. But life is not a math problem. Sometimes it's 70-30, 90-10, or even 60-40. The numbers are just a way to help us think better. The real lesson is this: a small number of things often bring most of the results. You don't need to count everything. You don't need to calculate exactly how much time you spend on each task. That's not the goal. The idea is to notice what works best, what gives you progress, peace, or success, and then do more of that. So don't waste time trying to be perfect with the numbers. Focus on the pattern, not the percentage. The third mistake people make is ignoring the small things that still matter. Yes, the 80-20 rule tells us to focus on the most important things, but it doesn't mean the other things have no value. For example, maybe taking care of your home, cooking meals, or replying to messages doesn't bring big results, but they are still part of life. Also, things like kindness, rest, and self-care may not seem productive, but they are very important for your health and happiness. Don't ignore them. The 80-20 rule is not saying to cut everything else out of your life. It's just telling you to spend more time on what brings the most value, while still respecting and managing the other small but necessary things. Let's take a simple example to make this even clearer. Imagine you are learning English. You find that speaking practice gives you the best improvement. So you start speaking more. That's great. But then you stop doing all grammar, reading and writing. You say, "This is not part of my 20%, so I'll skip it." That's a mistake. Yes, speaking may be your biggest skill, but grammar and reading also support your learning. Even if they're not the main part, they still help. So the 80-20 rule is about balance, not cutting everything else away. You focus more on your top 20%, but you don't ignore the rest completely. Another example is at work. Maybe you learn that writing reports and talking to clients are your most important tasks. These give you the best results. But if you ignore replying to emails, or coming on time to meetings, or helping your team, people will start to see you as someone who doesn't care. Small actions like politeness, good behavior, and respect still matter, even if they don't bring big rewards. The 80-20 rule helps you focus, but it should not make you blind to the little things that help life move smoothly. So the main idea here is this: use the 80-20 rule as a guide, not as a strict rule. Don't use it as an excuse to avoid work. Don't try to be perfect with numbers. And don't forget the small things that bring balance, peace, or kindness to your life. Use this rule to become more focused and thoughtful, not to become lazy, unkind, or careless. Easy examples of the 80-20 rule. Let's now talk about some easy and clear examples of the 80-20 rule in real life. Sometimes, we understand an idea better when we see it in action. The 80-20 rule is not just a theory or a business trick. It's something you can find in many areas of your daily life. It shows us that a small part of what we do brings most of our results, and it helps us make better choices. Let's begin with something simple: your clothes. If you look inside your closet, you may notice that you wear the same 20% of your clothes about 80% of the time. Maybe it's your favorite jeans, a comfortable t-shirt, or a warm sweater. These are the pieces you feel good in, so you keep choosing them. The rest of your clothes stay in the back, waiting for a special day that rarely comes. That's the 80-20 rule right there. A few things bring the most value. Now think about the food you eat. Most people have a few meals or snacks they eat again and again. Maybe you eat rice and chicken, or eggs and toast, or drink tea or coffee almost every day. You may notice that 20% of the foods you buy or cook make up about 80% of your meals. This can help you shop smarter and waste less. You don't need to fill your kitchen with everything, just the things you really use and enjoy. What about friendships and relationships? If you look closely, you might see that a small number of people in your life bring you the most joy, support, or peace. You may have many contacts on your phone, but only a few friends truly listen, help you, or make you smile. Those few people are your 20%, and they are worth your time and attention. Let's now move to work or study. At school or at your job, you often have a long list of tasks, but if you observe carefully, you'll see that only a few of those tasks really matter. For example, studying key topics or practicing what you've learned gives you better results than just reading everything quickly. At work, you may find that a few projects or activities bring the most success, while others just keep you busy. When you understand which 20% gives you the most progress, you can focus on that and reduce time spent on less important things. This rule also applies to learning English. You don't need to study every word in the dictionary. Studies show that just the top 1,000 to 2,000 words cover most daily conversations. So if you focus on these useful words, along with practicing speaking and listening often, you'll improve much faster. Many learners spend too much time memorizing rare grammar rules, but that's the 80% that doesn't give great results. Smart learners choose the 20% that makes a big difference, like real conversations, useful phrases, and speaking practice. Finally, let's look at business and money. In many businesses, 80% of the profits often come from just 20% of the products or clients. For example, if you sell things online, you might notice that just a few products sell the most. If you focus more on improving or promoting those products, you can grow your success without doing more work. The same goes for money management. A small number of smart habits, like saving a little each week, spending less on unnecessary things, or avoiding debt, can bring big financial peace over time. So as you can see, the 80-20 rule shows up everywhere, from the clothes you wear, to the food you eat, to the way you work, study, and manage relationships or money. It's a simple rule that helps us live more clearly, with less stress and more focus. By noticing the small things that give you the most results, you can do less, but get more. That's the magic of 80-20. In the next part, we'll review everything we've learned so far and go over the key takeaways one more time. So stay with me and remember to speak with me as you listen. This is your time to grow your English and your mindset. Review and recap. Let's take a moment now to go over everything we've talked about in this episode. It's always good to review the key ideas because when we hear something more than once, we remember it better. The 80-20 rule, also called the Pareto principle, is a simple but powerful idea that can help you make better choices in life. It teaches us that a small amount of effort can give us big results, if we choose the right actions. We started by understanding the main concept. In many situations, 80% of your results come from just 20% of your effort. This means that not everything we do is equally important. Some things we do matter more than others. If we can find those few important actions and focus on them, we can save time, reduce stress, and reach our goals faster. You don't have to do everything, you just need to do what matters most. Then, we looked at how this rule works in real life. We gave examples from different areas: work, study, health, and relationships. For example, in learning English, speaking and listening daily may be more helpful than only reading grammar rules. In your job, maybe 1 or 2 tasks bring most of your success, like talking to clients or solving important problems, while many other small tasks take time but don't give much result. By looking at your life and asking, "What few actions give me the most value?" you can begin to focus your time and energy wisely. We also talked about how to apply the 80-20 rule. The key is to pause and reflect. Look at your day or week and ask, what gave me real results? What can I stop doing or do less of? And where should I spend more time? This doesn't need to be perfect. You don't have to count everything or stress about numbers. Just notice patterns. What helps you grow? What moves you forward? Do more of that. But we didn't stop there. We also talked about the common mistakes people make when using this rule. Some people think the 80-20 rule means they can be lazy. But that's not true. You still need to work hard, just in the smart direction. Others try to be perfect with the numbers, always looking for exactly 80% or 20%. But life doesn't work that way. Sometimes it's 70-30, or even 90-10. And finally, some people ignore the small things like kindness, rest, or small daily habits. But those little things also matter. They help us stay human, balanced, and peaceful. So here's the main message again. Small, smart effort equals big results. When you focus on the few actions that truly matter, you don't need to do everything. You do what works, and that's more than enough. Let's go back to a short real-life example. Imagine 2 students who want to improve their English. One studies everything: grammar, vocabulary lists, long reading passages, but never practices speaking. The other student chooses to speak a little every day, listens to English podcasts, and uses simple words to talk to others. After a month, the second student feels more confident and fluent, even if they studied fewer hours. Why? Because they focused on the most effective actions, not just doing more, but doing what works. And that's the real power of the 80-20 rule. It reminds us that we don't need to do it all. We just need to do what matters most. Whether you're learning English, building a business, or improving your life, you can always ask, what's the 20% that will give me 80% of the progress? Start there, and you'll go far. In the next and final part, I'll leave you with a warm message and a simple challenge. So stay with me as we wrap up this journey together. As we come to the end of this episode, I want to leave you with a gentle reminder and a small challenge. I hope today's message has helped you see how powerful the 80-20 rule can be in your life. This rule isn't just about work or study. It's about living smarter, being more aware, and using your energy in the best way. Take a moment right now to think about your daily life. What do you do each day that brings you the most value, the most happiness, or the most growth? Maybe it's a short morning routine that helps you feel ready for the day. Maybe it's 10 minutes of English practice that improves your speaking. Or maybe it's something as simple as spending time with your family, walking outside, or reading a good book. Ask yourself, what small things give me big results? You don't need to make a huge change all at once, but you can start small. Think about one habit you can change or improve using the 80-20 rule. Maybe it's how you study English. Instead of trying to do everything, focus more on speaking and listening. Or maybe it's how you work. Instead of doing many small tasks, focus on the ones that matter most. Just one small shift can make a big difference over time. And if you ever feel overwhelmed, just pause and ask, is this the 20% that really matters? That simple question can guide you toward better choices. Thank you so much for spending your time with me today. I know you could be doing many things right now, and I truly appreciate that you chose to listen and learn with me. Your time and energy are valuable, and I hope this episode gave you something useful, something that helps you grow. If you found this helpful, I invite you to come back for the next episode. We'll continue learning and growing together, step by step, at your own pace. Remember, this podcast is not just for listening, it's for practicing English too. So, speak aloud with me, repeat key phrases, and don't be afraid to use your voice. That's how real learning happens. If you enjoyed today's episode, I'd love for you to share it with a friend who's also learning English or working on their goals. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the podcast so you never miss a new episode. You can also leave a comment or review. It helps more people find us and join this learning journey. Let's keep practicing, keep growing, and keep making smart choices together. The 80-20 rule is here to remind us. We don't need to do more. We just need to do what matters. Until next time, stay curious, stay kind, and stay consistent. You're doing great, and I'm proud of you.